The American and Iranian officials met in Oman for talks that were aimed at averting a potential war. While both sides claimed that the Oman-mediated talks were a positive start, they're also exchanging threats. So is it going to be diplomacy or possibly a full-fledged war? Our next report explores.
After days of military posturing and public threats, American and Iranian officials met in Oman in a bid to diffuse tensions and avert a potential war. Both sides say that the talks were positive and have agreed to meet again. US President Donald Trump said that the next round of talks could happen as early as next week. He believes Iran desperately wants to make a deal.
We likewise had very good talks on Iran. Iran looks like it wants to make a deal very badly. We have to see what that deal is. But I think Iran looks like they want to make a deal very badly, as they should.
But Trump hasn't ruled out options other than diplomacy. In a subtle indication that military strikes were still on the table, Trump told reporters that the US is in no rush. He cited the US approach to Venezuela, suggesting that Washington is keen to first exhaust diplomatic avenues before unleashing its armada.
We have plenty of time. If you remember Venezuela, we waited around for a while, and we're in no rush. We have, very good talks going with Iran.
But Trump's comments have received an aggressive counter from Tehran. Ibrahim Rezai, an Iranian lawmaker, has called Trump a liar. He insists that Tehran has not backed down from its red lines. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi says that the talks were a good start and that Tehran hopes to resume negotiations soon. However, Araghchi has ruled out on giving up on nuclear enrichment. And he says that Tehran's missile program is non-negotiable. Araghchi has also made it clear that Iran is prepared for both diplomacy and war. He has warned that if attacked, Tehran would hit back at American bases in West Asia.
The possibility of war is always present, and we are prepared for it. This preparedness is aimed at finding solutions that avoid war. I told the American negotiators yesterday, you have two options with us, war and diplomacy. Our option is diplomacy, but we are even more prepared for both than before, and we hope America will choose diplomacy.
Even as the two sides sit across the negotiating table, tensions continue to simmer. Hours after the talks concluded in Oman, Trump announced new sanctions to curb Iran's oil exports. American sanctions have already choked Iran's economy, fueling the biggest anti-government protests in years, leading to a brutal crackdown which has resulted in thousands of deaths. Amidst the war of words, the big question is, will Iran and the US reach a comprehensive deal to avert an all-out war? Much is likely to hinge on whether Tehran agrees to make concessions on its nuclear program, but the comments coming out of Tehran signal little possibility of a breakthrough. Last year, when similar nuclear talks had collapsed, the US had bombed prominent Iranian nuclear facilities. Officials in Tehran claim that the Islamic Republic is more prepared than last year to retaliate to any US strikes. For now, an uneasy calm prevails. Iran and the US seem to have chosen diplomacy over war. But will further talks pave the way for a durable peace, or is it just the silence before the storm? Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, now joining us all the way from Tel Aviv, we've got Dr. Mir Javdan. He's a lecturer of Iranian politics at the Reichman University in the State of Israel and a West Asia analyst and the co-author of the Nuclear Sphinx of Tehran. Dr. Javdan, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, in your assessment, the indirect negotiations that have been held between the Iranians and the Americans, what do you think this is in fact led to so far? Because in the month of June last year, when the United States had carried out those attacks on the Iranian nuclear facilities, Trump had declared that he had obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. The fact that these negotiations are happening, does this mean that the Iranian nuclear program is actually still functioning at a level that perhaps the Americans did not expect?
From what we know, Iran's enrichment capacity has been destroyed. Iran is not enriching any uranium at the moment because of the strikes last year by the State of Israel and the United States. This is one issue. But the other issue is what is being discussed in these negotiations. This is still not clear. Are these negotiations only about Iran's nuclear program? Or will they also address Iran's missile program, Iran's proxies in the region, and also the crackdown of the Iranian regime against the Iranian people, the recent massacres that we saw? President Trump recently said that he had stopped the execution of 800 Iranians. This is what he claimed. Is this included in these talks? It is not clear. What we know for a fact now is that there's just been one round of negotiations. The other fact is that there's going to be another round of negotiations. And the third fact, which makes it, let's say, interesting, is that both sides are making different claims about the outcome. President Trump the American side seems to be willing to seems to believe that these talks will be about more than nuclear, but the Iranians are insisting that it's not going to be about more than nuclear issue, and it's not going to entail Iran's enrichment, right? So confusion is the other fact that has come out from these recent round of talks after they finished in Oman.
Right. You've touched upon several key issues of what is being discussed, because both sides have given completely different impression of what they are negotiating upon. Now, the Iranians have said the only thing that is there for negotiation is Iran's nuclear program, but Iran's ability to defend itself and its ballistic missile program is something that the Iranians have made it flatly clear that they will not negotiate on that front. With that being the case, do you think these negotiations have any chance to succeed?
First and foremost, the issue of why are we discussing Iran's missile program? This is very important for your viewers to know. Every country has a right to defend itself. India, Israel, Iran, every country has a right to defend itself, and every country has a right to have missiles in order to defend itself.
Right.
However, the Islamic Republic of Iran has written on its missiles in Hebrew that Israel must be wiped off the face of the earth. This was in a missile. These two missiles were tested in March 2016. These missiles are not for defense purposes. These missiles are for the destruction of Israel. They say it, and they have been developing a nuclear program which had the potential to make a nuclear weapon which could have been delivered by these missiles. So this is why Israel has every right to demand that this missile program is curtailed and it doesn't reach Israel. Now, the next question, which is your question...
It's interesting, if I can just interject there. You seem to be suggesting that what is being pursued here appears more to be the security interests of Israel rather than anything that the Americans want in these negotiations. Is that a correct assessment to make?
Partly, yes, partly. The Americans also don't want the regime to have missiles because, let's not forget, the biggest attack on Saudi soil by missiles and by UAVs was carried out, I believe it was some missiles, but I'm sure it was UAVs in 2019, and which knocked out a large part of Saudi in 2019. A large part of the oil production capacities were knocked out. So this is something that is very important for the United States, but of course also the security of Israel. We are America's most important ally in this region.
Indeed. I think those are some crucial points there. Thank you very much, Dr. Mir Javdan Far, for joining us from Tel Aviv and getting us that perspective there.
Thank you.